right, everybody, welcome to this live episode of The Nation. Just right now, right after Marvel's Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to talk about it all here on The Nation, but I can't do it by myself to start off this show. Got to bring on my hot mic co-host right off the bat, the In-Snyder himself, Jeff Snyder. Jeff, massive news just broke. Hall H, Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Dr. Doom here. Two new Avengers films titles have been released here. Doomsday. Well, what are your thoughts overall on what we got here? RDJ, what's your thoughts on these Avengers titles? What happened here?
What happened indeed, Johnny boy? What happened indeed? I mean huge. And I'll tell you who allowed this moment to happen. Three people.
Go ahead.
Kevin Feige, Robert Downey Jr., and me.
Okay. How are you possibly taking credit for this? Please explain how you can possibly take credit for this.
Because I take Marvel at its word. And when they denied this story 2 months ago,
yeah,
I stood down.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable.
You had it.
Another brutal Marvel Avengers loss here, but back-to-back blows. But you know what? This is huge for the fans. It's the only way you're going to get Downey back, okay? If he did something interesting. If you had an interesting angle for him to play. He wasn't just going to come back for another fucking adventure as Iron Man.
Right. This is what's surprising, though. I mean, because my reaction to it immediately was, oh, okay. Like, I like this idea, but by the same token, I'm like, does this make sense? Because we just had the Russos, which, we were going to break. We were a minute late breaking it. And now you have Robert Downey Jr. coming. Like, I was excited for the names of the new Avengers films and that they were going towards the Dr. Doom situation. But Robert Downey Jr., I tweeted this out. It reeks of slight desperation to bring him back to be your main villain. Is this a Band-Aid, or is this a legitimate decision that they're going to keep going forward with Robert Downey Jr., or is he just coming in like a reliever at the end, an old reliever off the bench to help them win the World Series? What do you think here, man?
I think that guy's cool. I think that his return was an inevitability, John.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like, he was always coming back, and I think that the MCU needs a huge anchor as a villain. Needs like a worthy opponent, because like having these like Emma Corrin and and there's just like these random villains,
right?
You need someone with Downey's weight, and I think it's a good plan.
You actually are on board with this. You don't think this is a bad idea for them to go this route?
No, not at all. Why? Because people want to see him as Iron Man, or not at all?
I think because of this, they're like, a lot of people, I see the reviews, or I see the reactions online. A lot of people are caught up in like, how are they going to do this? Why would they do this? The way he's coming back. Because, I mean, Jeff, if the Russos and RDJ were coming back when Marvel was on a high and you wanted to bring him back and be like, yes, he is back now. Surprise. Like, we're doing so well. We got this now. And we got the Russos coming back. The world would have split in half, right? The earth would have split in half. But now it feels a little bit like, okay, we couldn't make it work with these other people. Now we're going to go back to these guys. And,
who could they not make it work with as Doom?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know who was in consideration for Doom, right?
I don't think. I think that this was always the plan. I mean,
wait.
We're gonna just cast some random actor as Doom,
right?
But then everybody passed, and so now we're pivoting and going to like this other story. And will Robert come back? No, I think this was always the first plan.
Do you anticipate that as soon as the Jonathan Majors thing started to be an issue, they had the conversation with Robert? Did they start to heat up a little bit more? Did they start to make up a plan? Did they start to move in this direction? Is that what you think happened here?
You need to bring in someone who makes you not care about that, right? You can't bring in, all due respect, a rising young actor like Damson Idris and say, oh, he's the new Kang, and expect everything to be fine, right?
Right.
Bring in someone who's going to make you not even care that Kang's not even there.
So do you think Kang is completely done? Do you think he's not coming back at all?
I have no idea, nor do I care. I mean, like, I didn't realize until yesterday what the giant cloud in Daredevil and Wolverine was.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that's like some like character from Loki that has a name. I'm like, Dragon Cloud. I mean, like, it's things like that where I'm just an average person, right?
Yeah, right.
And I don't know what the fuck I'm watching because you insist on having some fucking Dragon Cloud from Loki.
Well, this is a great issue you bring up here, Jeff. And I know you've got limited amount of time before you have to go, but this is an excellent issue you bring up. How many of the casual MCU fans, like your brother, you like to talk about your brothers or your dad, how many of them are going to get it that he's not playing Iron Man, he's playing Doctor Doom from another universe, but it's still Tony Stark, it's just Tony Stark evil? Like, how many of them are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm on board with this? And how many of them are going to be like, this is too confusing, this is nuts, why isn't he just playing Iron Man? Isn't this an issue?
I have no idea. I don't know how. I mean, it's all about how they sell it. And again, I was told,
yeah,
that it'll be like a kicker. So, and I imagine, that if number 5 is called Doomsday,
yes,
then he's not gonna pop up there first in Doomsday.
Right.
It's gonna be his first appearance. Like, they're gonna tease him at the end of fucking Fantastic Four. Like I said,
Right. Yeah, you said he was never the Doom was never going to be like a big villain in Fantastic Four. He was going to be right at the end. Yeah, right. You did say that. Yeah. So now, what's your thoughts on? Okay, anything more to say on the Robert Downey Jr. thing, or can we get your thoughts on the titles for these Avengers films?
I mean, I like the title, like Avengers Doomsday. I don't like if Doomsday is a thing as far as Doctor Doom. Like, is that like a do people? Refer? Okay, yeah, then it's great.
So he'll be more established clearly in Doomsday, right? As you said, introduced at the end of Fantastic Four, then be really established in Doomsday. We'll get the backstory, we'll get everything. And then Secret Wars, clearly he'll be, someone who's involved in a massive way in Secret Wars, depending on how they craft the story. Doom is the villain and the anti-hero at the same time. So I wonder, maybe that was the logic too in bringing Robert Downey Jr. in to play the role, because you kind of want him to have a little bit of sympathy as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know the comics well enough to comment. How they plan to use Doom, whether as a pure villain or an anti-hero at first. I just don't know.
All right, so give me best case.
Like, can you imagine the money?
Yeah. I mean,
even the cameo at the end of Fantastic Four, which is what I'd said on the show, I feel like months ago, which was like, oh, they ended up going from Javier Bardem, who's a really, who's expensive.
Yeah.
To Ralph Ineson, who is not expensive. I said all along, I wonder if that money, those savings are going right into the bank account of one Robert Downey Jr.
What do you do you think Iger, like, who do you think proposed this? Who do you think proposed this possibility?
Kevin.
You think Feige came up with it?
Listen, there's a reason Kevin is considered the greatest showman on earth. When you think about it, the greatest showman on earth.
Now, do you think they've saved the MCU with this move from all the negative publicity, the negative reactions, people feeling like
huge? I mean, and I get that's why it was denied. That moment, that reveal is something that will go down in Comic-Con history. And maybe it wouldn't have played the same if I had, said 2 months ago, listen, this is going to happen. But
right.
So, maybe I got to take it on the chin. Oh, my buddy's here. So I got to go.
We'll have more. We'll have more on the hot mic later on this week, right?
All right. Have a good one.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Appreciate the time, brother. There it is. Jeff Snyder hanging out for just a little bit here. Let me widen the camera. Yeah, Jeff Snyder hanging out for just a little bit today here at the start of the show. He was on his way to a dinner, or else we would have done a full hot mic emergency episode, but unfortunately he could only join for 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, this is massive news, right? This is massive news. I am, because if you follow me by now, you know me, I'm both excited and skeptical about things now at this older age about how things are going to go down in the execution. I've been surprised I've been disappointed. I've been shocked. I've been over the moon in seeing the execution of these things in the past. So for me, I have to say, when they announced the Avengers names, and look, I could have been in Hall H today. I got invited by my friends to come down for the Superman and Lois panel. I would have had to sit there all day, but the truth is, with the COVID numbers as high as they are, and having caught it once already and it fucking me up for 2 weeks, I just did not want to take the chance of being in an enclosed room for 7 hours, even with a mask, on the off chance that someone will cough near me or whatever reason and catch it. So I could have been in the room to witness all of this. That being said, for as big as this announcement is, I kind of feel like this Marvel Hall H panel was a little bit subdued for where we've seen Marvel in the past. Even when they've been shaky or kind of maybe not on solid ground, we've seen them deliver some fantastic, exciting Hall H panels. This one, I know it started out with a Deadpool and Wolverine choir coming out and singing Like a Prayer, which I thought was great, and coming down the aisle. Then you had David Harbour as Red Guardian coming down and introducing the cast for Thunderbolts. Then you had Captain America 4 with Harrison Ford coming out doing the Red Hulk stuff, which I'll play some of that here in just a second, which was really exciting. And then you had who else? Oh, and then you had the Fantastic Four cast come out as well. And then there was a cool little Fantastic Four ship that picked them up and took them to go shoot more in London. And then, of course, we had the reveal of the Avengers stuff. But from what I understand, no Blade stuff, which I thought might come up, and some other Marvel stuff that did not come up as well. So I do think they ended in a strong way with Robert Downey Jr., but I also think maybe it didn't 100%, like there wasn't a big like bang, bang, bang. So clearly we see that this is a Marvel in transitioning, trying to recapture its mojo. Yeah, and I wonder if Blade is done. I really do, because if you've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm not going to spoil anything because there might be some of you who are watching right now who have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine. But if you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine, there are certain things that happened. So just throwing that out there. Another thing that happened for Cap, so the RDJ thing is fast. So let's focus on that a little bit more. So Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing Tony Stark again, essentially. He's going to be playing, an intelligent man from means, as Victor Von Doom is. I don't know how they're going to adjust his origin. I've seen people say he should have been a certain ethnicity or from a certain area of the world in order to play this character. But I think Marvel doesn't give two shits about that right now. They're about saving the brand right now and getting people back excited for these movies, because not only have they been stumbling a little bit recently, but also the punch in the face of the Jonathan Majors situation. Secret Invasion was an absolute dud. And we haven't seen, the strong efforts from them overall. Even though Doctor Strange made a lot of money, I think there's a lot of people who don't like Multiverse of Madness. Clearly, Love and Thunder wasn't that well received. Quantumania wasn't that well received. I'm not telling you anything you guys don't know. So clearly, a little bit on their heels. Even Captain America 4 has had 3 or 4 reshoots or something like that. It's just been insane how much they've done on that show. So COVID, the strike, some of the results of these shows have hit Marvel on the chin. So the Russos thing, we basically broke that, although THR beat us by a minute on it in print. We beat them on video on it. And then you have this announcement with Robert Downey Jr. Look, there were rumors about a threesome here. Are we seeing Vanessa Kirby having to be between Pedro Pascal and Victor Von Doom? Oh, I'm sorry, Robert Downey Jr. And clearly they're all from the same universe. So this is all the easiest way to make it happen. You bring everybody over from the same universe, put them in one universe, and see where you go from there. And that's clearly what's happening here in this situation. And so I wonder how much of their relationship from their previous universe is going to come into play in this particular version of Fantastic Four. I'm going to be curious to see. So best case scenario, they pull this off. The Russos recapture that mojo, and RDJ, the Russos, and Kevin Feige is a winning combination for 2 Avengers movies. By the way, who was saying the Russos should come back 4 months before they finally announced it? And I'm sure others were as well. I'm not trying to say I came up with this bright idea, but others were as well. And people poo-pooed it. People shot it down. It's happening. Now it's official. It's done. The Russos are coming back. Marvel and the Russos need each other right now with what's going on in their respective careers and brands. And so it's smart. You bring them together. The RDJ quotient, I think that's the X factor in all of this. I think it could work. I think it also could it could be a spectacular failure. It just all depends on the execution and how they put this all together, which characters get involved. Because, I mean, what did they say not even a year ago or less than a year ago? The Russo said, we can't see bringing Iron Man back. We closed the chapter on that. It still feels a little too soon to bring RDJ back, because what's it been, 5 years since Endgame? And so it still feels a little too soon to bring him back. But look, best case scenario, they make it work. They put it all together. They tell a hell of a 2-part story. And then we probably have to say goodbye to Robert Downey Jr. again. So are you killing off Doctor Doom, or do you keep Doctor Doom going through Secret Wars into the new phase? What do you do with Doctor Doom? This is something to consider. Thinking you were done with Robert Downey Jr., now you're having him come back. Is Chris Evans coming back? Is Scarlett Johansson coming back? Are they coming back as their respective selves or different versions of themselves from different universes? So there's a lot of questions when you look at how this all go down. Worst case scenario is this doesn't work at all. This is a desperate Hail Mary attempt, and the ball gets intercepted in the end zone rather than going for a touchdown. And it's a bit of a mixed result, and people aren't happy about it. We saw people celebrating in the room, but there were also a lot of people sitting down when the announcement was made. So I think there was a hope that this would be someone new and interesting and exciting. And yes, the fan part of you is excited that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be back in the MCU. But the logic part of you might be like, hey, this feels a little like, ugh. Also, the part of you that knows about what's going on behind the scenes is going a little bit like, is this the right move? I want to like this, but this feels like desperation. Because like I said, if Marvel was riding high and for like 10 years after RDJ and the Russos left, and then they're like, you know what? We're going to announce the Russos and RDJ are back in a new couple of films, and it's going to be a blast. Then I think the roof would have come off of that convention center from not just Hall H, but the entire convention center, and people would have been celebrating. Now you got a little bit of a mixed bag of a reaction, overall positive, but still a little bit of a mixed bag of reaction. So I'll be curious what it ends up becoming, for God's sake. So Galaxy Geeks, what's up, guys? He says, could have Dr. Drew bringing together evil Avengers, getting multiverse evil versions like Hydra Cap. Yeah, but then again, so don't people get mad at that A-Force moment? This is essentially would be an A-Force moment, right? You're bringing them all together, and it's cool that they're playing villains. And now it becomes pro wrestling, right? And it becomes pro wrestling. The faces have turned heel. Yes, and we'll say that they're from a different universe and they're variants, and so they can play heel now in all of this. But I'll tell you this, you go see Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't see Hugh Jackman doing a goddamn thing different as this variant of Wolverine than he did in all the other Wolverine movies. So this idea that this could be a completely different performance, they're essentially going to be playing the same characters, just evil. And they're essentially going to be playing the characters the same way, just evil. So there's not going to be that different interpretation necessarily for these characters, other than they'll do evil things instead of positive things. So it becomes a little bit of pro wrestling. And look, you won't catch me getting upset about pro wrestling being a part of the comics, but I also know a lot of people who like comics don't like pro wrestling. So I'm just going to be curious to see how they make that thing work overall. So yeah, look, I'm cheering for it. I would never cheer against Marvel. I want them to do well. I love when Marvel nails it. So But I also have to be honest with my own feelings in that I have a bit of trepidation about this whole situation. And I wish this was happening at a time when they were like riding high. So this could be like, you know what? We're going to bring it back after all this time, and people are going to go even crazier for what we've done, But hey, if this works and they pull it off and we get two fantastic Avengers movies, and essentially the old wrestlers or Undertaker is coming in, or Chris Jericho or Ric Flair, and they're in the form of Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans or Scarlett Johansson, and they're putting over the young talent. They're putting over the younger actors, the younger performers. They're putting over all those people. Then they'll have served their purpose. But I think pro wrestling and movies are two different things, and you can't always put over the younger actors if they don't connect with the audience. And there's a possibility here that it could be a big production and all this effort, and in the end, it might not lead to the results you were hoping it would lead to. So we will see down the road. I see people sending in super chats. Thank you so much. I didn't put up the Streamlabs address. If people want to send in their questions, thoughts, and comments, there you go. The Streamlabs address right above my head, cutting off my hair there. I gotta get my boy Tushka to make a version of this that's a bit thinner up top there, so I can fit my head on it, underneath it. But yeah, so if you want to send in Streamlabs or super chats here to ask questions about this whole situation and the other stuff that happened at the Marvel panel, please feel free. My buddies are out and about in San Diego tonight, so they are not here on the show with me, but we will be doing a live recap of Comic-Con later on, either a Monday night or Tuesday night, and we're doing a live spoiler review of Deadpool and Wolverine. We just got to figure out the timing of both here on our live. So let me hit this. Alice in Wonderland says, Jeff giving your flowers for the RDJ Doom scoop. Yeah, Jeff had speculated on this, and then he had kind of sat on it, and then of course it happened. Fantastic says, I didn't hear the crowd explode when RDJ like I was expecting. Exactly. Is this an issue? Are we getting a Marvel news dump in retaliation? Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know if we're getting a Marvel news dump. But yes, the excitement, it didn't blow up. Like people should have been on their feet like monkeys in a zoo going crazy, hanging off of each other like a soccer stadium when a goal is scored by the home team in the last second. Like it should have been an explosion. But it wasn't quite the explosion people were hoping. Even when you watch the Marvel, here, let me play it for you guys, because I do want to show you guys some stuff from Hall H. So, and I'm seeing some responses here. Let me share some of the responses from people who are reacting to my tweets, my post rather. I predict at the end of this storyline, Thanos will return to destroy Doomsday. Maybe Thanos. Chad Patterson says, sorry about that. Chad Patterson says, I'm not too excited about the choice either, but I'll wait and see how it goes. There's Juan Lopez saying, hated it. Kayla McLean saying, I'm all in. DJ Valentine saying, thank you here with all of this. John, RDJ is here to help us hand off to Pedro as the intellectual gravity around which we will all revolve around. I hope so. I don't know that we've shown that Pedro can lead a franchise. He can lead a TV franchise, Mandalorian, Last of Us, but can he lead a film franchise? I think that's going to be curious to see. Laughing Store said, Dr. Doom being an Iron Man variant is disappointing, and it feels like a lost opportunity to bring in someone fresh. I'll watch the movie regardless, but it still feels like a missed opportunity for someone new. Mike Jordan said, the Russo said something interesting before they announced RDJ. They mentioned, quote, searching across the multiverse to find Doom. I don't think this is going to be the regular MCU Doom going into the future, just for this Avengers movie or both upcoming Avengers. So yeah, what happens there? Does a new Doctor Doom come in and be a part of this? I don't know. It's a good question that a main Earth 616 Doom comes in that replaces the Doom from the Fantastic Four universe. Do they defeat that Doom? Does the other Doom come in to defeat the RDJ Doom? And then that's the Doom that takes over going forward with the Fantastic Four. I don't know. It's questions to be had here. But yeah, let's see if I can find the reveal here. Okay, so here's So right. So it's a strong announcement. Right? but it's not as strong as you would hope it would be. That's kind of the, and here's one. Right. Still a little subdued. Am I wrong on this? I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this, but it feels like it's still a little bit subdued. Although there is a big reaction, I was hoping for something bigger. You know what I'm saying? And so we will see. And here's do they have more video? Here, let me find the media, see if there's yeah, here we go. All this stuff. Where's the video? Do they have the video? I was looking for the video of the car they brought out, but I guess it's not there. Let me type in Fantastic Four and see what comes up in terms of the car. Yeah, Fantastic Four, the first steps is begins production on Tuesday, only in theaters July 25th of 2025. So I guess that's the title there that they're having. Yeah, we got the two titles. Avengers Doomsday will come out in 2026. Avengers Secret Wars in 2027. The Russos will be doing it again, like they did for Infinity War and Endgame. Here is the Fantastic Four logo, which is such an awesome logo. And then the cast there, Vanessa, Pedro, Joseph Quinn there, and Evan Moss-Bachrach. Great to see them being a part of this thing. So here are the announcements that happened from Digital LA. Robert Downey Jr. will be Dr. Doom. Avengers Kang Dynasty is Avengers Doomsday, right? Avengers Fantastic Four title added first steps. There was other stuff announced here throughout. Oh, yeah. We got in the Captain America 4. We got Giancarlo Esposito was announced. Esposito was announced as Sidewinder. He will be playing the character Sidewinder. Seth Volker. That's who he will be playing here. That's the character that he will be part of. He is the king of the Serpent Society. So that's the character that he'll be playing in the Captain America 4 film. And they apparently showed some more footage here. The introduction of the Serpent Society in Brave New World pays off a prank that Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige pulled on fans almost a decade ago, where Feige first announced that the third Cap movie would be Captain America Serpent Society before revealing later in the panel that it was actually Captain America Civil War. And certainly we've seen certain members of the Serpent Society pop up in the Fox Marvel Spider-Man movies, or Spider-Verse, shall we say. So will they be recast? What are we doing with this kind of stuff here? So that's going to be interesting to see. So Sidewinder, I mean, you don't cast Giancarlo and not put him as the head of a society. So I appreciate that. Thunderbolts had some stuff going on here. We got to see some footage, some early footage of the film, which shows Yelena facing off against Ghost and John Walker while dealing with some personal demons. And whether or not Alexei can help her, that's Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, remains to be seen. The Thunderbolts premieres May 5th of 2025. Already told you about Fantastic Four First Steps. That's the name of the film now, July 25th, 2025. Then RDJ, then the Russos, then the Avengers. So that's all the stuff that was announced in Hall H. That's it. That's all that was announced in Hall H. So what do you, I mean, like, I got to hear from you guys. What do you, let's hit some of these Streamlabs Super Chat. If you guys have stuff you want to say, send it in the Streamlabs and Super Chats, or I'll grab random comments as well as you leave them in the chat. But look, I'm sad I missed out on seeing some of the footage there. But also the other part of me is like, I would have been excited to see RDJ, but how much of that would have really got me going crazy? I don't know. So I want to hear from you guys. C Black says, can you imagine Chris Evans, Hugh, and Toby going against Downey's Doom? $4 billion. Yeah, that's a fair point. But which Chris Evans are we going to get? Are we going to get Chris Evans Captain America? Because I've already been fooled once recently. And Hugh Jackman is which Wolverine are we going to get? And then Tobey Maguire, has that been confirmed? I see a lot of people speculating about Toby, but I didn't see any announcements about Toby. So if you guys have heard anything, let me know. And yeah, sure, Chris Evans, Hugh Jackman, Tobey Maguire. But think about that. That's all the old people. That's Ric Flair and Sting. taking on Hulk Hogan. That's what that is. It's all the old wrestlers coming back to do a WrestleMania match, basically. And what happens what happens every time you bring back old wrestlers? It happened again recently with the WWE when they brought back The Rock. The young wrestlers get pissed off because the young wrestlers have been there wrestling every day, wrestling all the house shows, and they've earned their spot to be in the main event of WrestleMania, but you get pushed aside because the story is bigger. The story can be bigger if we bring back this older wrestler. And that's what this is. Chris Evans, Hugh Jackman, Toby, and Robert Downey Jr. are all from like the early 2000s to the 90s, right? I mean, that's how far back we're going with these characters. So what does that tell you about how they view the current stable of actors? Let me adjust my camera here. Sorry. The current stable of actors that they currently have in the MCU, that they have to go hunting for the older actors to kind of bring the attention back. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Logan Vaughn says, what's next? Chris Evans playing Galactus? Well, they already announced Galactus, so no. This RDJ casting feels a bit of a reach to me. I'd rather have a traditional Doctor Doom. Yeah, Logan, I don't think you're wrong. But it doesn't mean that we're not getting a traditional Doctor Doom. This could have been a little bit of a swerve. And look, just like with The Rock, when they readjusted how they were going to present him with the WWE when he came back for WrestleMania and the fans booed him, Kevin Feige might have seen this reaction, might see the online reaction, be like, okay, we need to make some pivots here. We need to make some adjustments. We need to make some changes to the story, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's not till 2026 and 2027. So they've got 2 to 3 years. They've got time to readjust if they need to readjust. So we will see. Wiley says, you're the best, John. Thank you, Wiley. He says, everyone go listen to the new Ordinary People episode up from the Cinephiles. Great discussion. Yeah, one of the podcasts I do, the Cinephiles, that's one of the biggest podcasts I do. It averages about 200 to 250,000 downloads a month there. We recently started in on the 1980 Best Picture winner, Ordinary People, in honor of Donald Sutherland's passing. And it's the first time I ever watched that movie, and I loved it. So if you haven't seen Ordinary People, watch the movie. And if you want to listen to our discussion, part 1 of our discussion, it is up on the Cinephiles. If you've never listened to the Cinephiles, I can't recommend it enough. Me and my director friend, Steve Morris, who lives in LA, we basically break down one classic film, one great film, one film that we love, scene by scene. We go scene by scene through the movie, breaking it down. Usually takes us about anywhere from 4 to 5 hours to break down a movie, and we split it up over 2 parts over 2 weeks. Occasionally, we've gone 3 parts. We did Black Panther with Winston A. Marshall and Jay Washington. That was a 4-part exploration of that movie that was just incredible. So if you haven't heard that, you should definitely listen to that as well. Thank you, Wiley. Derek, what's up, Derek? He says, that announcement fell flat even for me as a diehard. Wow. He will always be Iron Man in some people's eyes. I'm hoping this is a variant. Oh, this is totally a variant. The roof should have exploded. This just felt unclimactic. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Derek. It felt a little unclimactic. He says, you take one of the greatest actors of our generation and put him as the leader of Serpent Society. Man, I love Marvel, but Secret Wars better reset this casting. Yeah, that's a fair point. But I mean, he's going to be the leader of the Serpent Society. So yeah, I know the Serpent Society isn't strong, but if anybody can elevate the Serpent Society, it is Giancarlo. So I kind of think it's a smart move to go this direction because you want to give some depth and some legitimate threat to the Serpent Society. Casting someone like Giancarlo helps you do that. C Block also says, John, you will have different multiverse teams, but the older characters will lead the teams. Yeah, I mean, again, what does that tell you? We don't trust the younger actors. We don't trust the casting we did on all these other movies. So we have to bring in the older actors to lead the younger teams. And I mean, last I checked, Ms. Marvel and Kate Bishop are putting together a team by themselves without needing any old actors to come or old heroes to come in and lead their team. I mean, they're not going to lead the new Avengers, the young Avengers rather. So what's the angle here? So very curious. Alice in Wonderland says, I truly hope they introduce a new Avengers team soon. The rumor is it'll be introduced in Captain America 4. That's what I hear, is that because he's basically telling him to go build a new team. So we will see. So there. Lucky says Derek is an idiot, but he paid you some money, so he'll get some airtime. You fucking goof. Wow, Lucky. Okay, gotta block you. So when you're a stupid fuck, you get blocked. That's how it works. Sorry, Lucky. You're done. Guys, I don't play that bullshit. If you're toxic or you're negative, you get kicked the fuck out. I don't need you. I don't beg for you. I don't need you. It's simple as that. All right, let's hit the Streamlabs here real quick. Fredtastic. Okay, only Streamlab I've gotten is from Fredtastic. Thank you, Fred. He says, I wonder what the Marvel panel thought when the RDJ reveal wasn't as loud as Mahershala Ali's when the MCU was riding high. This is my point, bro. This is my point. So, yeah, I wonder. I wonder what they'll think once they take a step back, see the online reaction, which has been kind of split, kind of mixed in the reaction overall. People were excited for the announcement of the Avengers titles, especially the Doomsday title. But now with RDJ coming in, it seems like people are a little bit less excited about the whole situation. So we will see overall. Kaiser says, my main question is, will RDJ be playing Victor Von Doom from another reality or an evil version of Tony Stark simply named Victor Von Doom? Now, look, Doom is, there is a storyline in the comics where Doom became Iron Man, but it was more like he was redeeming himself. So he became Iron Man. So I don't think that's what would happen here. It's a good question. Will he play Victor Von Doom or will he play Tony Stark, who becomes Dr. Doom in that reality? I think that's what we're going to see. Tony Stark in that universe became Dr. Doom, because you could argue there's a lot of similarities to Victor Von Doom and Tony Stark's life story, in that both of them come from money. Both of them come from a version of royalty. Obviously, Victor from actual royalty, but the Starks were essentially royalty in the tech world. So, and they come from money and trying to prove themselves and find themselves on opposite sides of the battle of good and evil, but no less. But, Von Doom always thinks he's right. He's one of those villains who thinks he's right because he's of supreme intelligence. Tony has supreme intelligence and also thinks he's right, even when he gets the Avengers into situations like he did when Vision was created, and then which led to the Ultron creation. So you get those things with both of them. So the similarities are there, that he could be playing Tony Stark, who becomes Dr. Doom, not Victor Von Doom. We may meet Victor Von Doom in the Fantastic Four movie, or possibly in Doomsday, or maybe even in Secret Wars, which is a combination of all the planets, or all the universes rather, coming together and battling on Battle World. And we'll see if that ends up happening. So, yeah. Worthy says, again, Variety reports he is Victor Von Doom, not a Tony Stark variant. Okay. All right. But we will see how much of that, is 100% true. We will see. Cooley, hi, what's up? He says, what's up, fam? RDJ returning. I'm here for it. All right, Cooley, you're on board. I respect it. I respect it, brother. Sean G says, people are downing, no pun intended, with no context. No one thought RDJ was a great choice of Stark at the start. That's not fucking true. Take a breath and let it play out, in my opinion. Sean, you're 100% wrong. You're 100% wrong, brother, man. A lot of people love Robert Downey Jr. as an actor. When he was announced as Iron Man, it was an exciting choice. The only people who were not sure about it was the insurance company, because he was still fresh he was still freshly sober and still building his resume back up. But Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is before Iron Man. There's a number of films before Iron Man where RDJ was reestablishing himself after his drug and substance abuse problems. So there were certainly people who had no problem with him being named as an Iron Man. It was more like, is this going to work? The idea of an Iron Man movie, because it's not a front leading Marvel character at the time, right? Robert Downey Jr. transformed it, but no one's ever doubted his talent, and no one's ever doubted his ability to play a character like this. So context certainly is an important thing. I don't disagree with you, Sean, in that aspect of your comment. We certainly need to put things in context when we've been given context. Since we have no context, we're allowed to react as we see fit to what we have been given, which is RDJ coming back to play Victor Von Doom or Dr. Doom in the Marvel Universe. So that's the context we've been handed. So we do have some context to make our opinion. We don't have the full context, and we probably won't have the full context for quite some time, as these films don't come out for 2 or 3 years, right? But for right now, we're all not just going to sit on our hands and not say anything about it. We have a right to react to it, brother. So, let's see here. What else have we got? Okay, that's all. Is that all the super chats for now? Oh no, Uncanny. Uncanny Suit 97 says, bit of a bizarre decision. The MCU doesn't have a Norman Osborn, Magneto, or Victor Von Doom. I think Variant Stark will work, but sucks as a comic fan. Yeah, I mean, that's you can go both ways. And I saw, of course, I put up the comment that someone said the Variety made it very clear that he's playing Victor Von Doom. Yes, fine if he's playing Victor Von Doom. I mean, I don't have an issue with him playing Victor Von Doom necessarily. It's all about how are you going to make it work. The Tony Stark aspect of it, I think that's where they could run into some danger if they even open that door. So it'll be fascinating when heroes of the main sacred timeline of Earth 616, when RDJ shows up as Dr. Doom, that's going to be a hell of a reveal. When they see the person who looks like Tony Stark being the villain, that is going to do a number on number. What happens when Pepper sees Victor Von Doom for the first time? If they bring back Gwyneth Paltrow, if they bring back Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, what happens when Tom Holland sees Tony Stark as Dr. Doom? Spider-Man versus Dr. Doom. What happens then? You know, what is the reaction to that situation? If you bring back Chris Evans as Cap, what happens with Chris Evans when he sees RDJ or Ruffalo as Hulk? What happens when they see RDJ as Dr. Doom, or even Nick Fury? You know, there's quite a number of interesting moments you can have with RDJ as Victor Von Doom, not Tony Stark, but looks like Tony Stark coming in to the main timeline of the MCU. It could be very, very interesting and lead to some fantastic back and forth with those incredible actors. Let's see. Rodney P says, any of the three Skarsgård brothers were there for the taking for Dr. Doom. Not really excited about the RD choice, to be honest. Rodney, I hear you. And I think in a bubble and in a vacuum, you're absolutely right to feel this way, because they're all so incredibly talented and they all could have brought some interesting flavors to the character, for sure, of Victor Von Doom. But they wanted to make a big splash. Marvel needed to make a big splash because of all that's been going down. So casting Robert Downey Jr. from a business sense and from even slightly a creative sense does make sense. And it could make dollars in sense when you bring him back. Because look how Deadpool and Wolverine is doing. Because overall, I think it's a good movie, regardless of what some of these self-important critics have been saying about the movie, kind of up their own ass about the movie. I think it's a fantastic film. I've seen it twice now. I'll probably see it 2 more times. And they brought back Hugh Jackman, the old Hugh Jackman, who has been doing Wolverine since the year 2000, 24 years. And it worked, so maybe they think they can capture lightning in a bottle again, bringing RDJ back to play a character in the MCU. So we will see. Sid Dave says RDJ may also play a good Iron Man variant. There is no way they won't have RDJ, Hugh Jackman, Toby, Andrew Garfield in one movie with the OG Avengers. Oh yeah, look, as nerds, I think we're gonna have nerdgasms all over these movies of the combo of the talent or whatever. But what separates the reason Infinity War and Endgame is so beloved by people who are not even like hardcore Marvel fans, just casual Marvel fans, is because of the story, the script, and the emotional stakes of all the characters. They hit almost every emotional beat in both of those movies correctly. Almost every emotional beat was hit correctly in both of those movies. Can the Russos capture that magic again? Will they be able to mine and hit those emotional beats the same way coming back to the MCU, which is a completely different MCU than they left? I mean, completely different. Will they be able to hit the same notes and what have you and be able to make this all work? So it's a question. So yeah, we'll have our moments, but if those moments aren't built up in a way that adds stakes and gets us invested and makes us feel like we're in the right hands and we can't wait to see what happens, then there's serious possibility it could implode. And then it won't be as cool. It won't be as fun. And it'll be a wasted opportunity. I keep making these wrestling references. Like when the NWO came into the WWE, it was like, there was so much potential, but because of some wrestlers not wanting to lose to them, because of Vince and their creatives like hamstrung booking because they listen to their wrestlers and their creative crybaby needs, the NWO fizzled out. We did get a great Hogan versus Rock match, but the NWO fizzled out when it could have been insane. It could have rivaled anything DX did in WWE. So it's like, it's a matter of, can you tell the story correctly so that when these moments happen, we are just in nerdgasm heaven or superhero nirvana, superhero movie nirvana. We will see. We will see for sure. Let's see if I've got any other ones here. Oh, okay. Terrence says the story could be him being the maker instead of Reed. I love it. Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be interesting. I suppose that could work. I suppose. Derek Johnson says, is this Doom from the Fantastic Four universe? I'm not down on RDJ portrayal. I'm down on it because Marvel thought they needed momentum. Same as The Rock coming back to WWE, but the momentum was there without RDJ, as seen with Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, not 100% though, Derek. That's one movie. And even The Ringer wrote an article this week saying Deadpool and Wolverine is great, but isn't going to save movie theaters, right? And so a lot of people enjoy the movie, but also there are quite a few people have a little bit of the bigger picture perspective about this whole thing. And one movie does not put you back on track, right? They need a string of good films and a string of good TV shows to get them back on track. I mean, if Agatha comes out and shits the bed or is a mixed bag, like a lot of the Star Wars shows have been lately, that's not a good sign, even with the success of Deadpool. And look, you can say, oh, Deadpool and Wolverine was great. Who's in Deadpool and Wolverine? It's all Fox Marvel characters. I'm not going to ruin anything, but there are a couple MCU characters, but everyone else is Fox characters. So yes, the MCU did a nice job in bringing in, to use a wrestling reference, as you said, they brought in WCW wrestlers to be in the invasion angle in WWE. It was nice and it worked for the most part, even though it flamed out at the end there. It worked for the most part, but it was not talent that they built, So it was talent that was built someplace else, movies that were built someplace else, nostalgia that was built someplace else. And so Sean Levy came in and directed that under the auspices of the MCU, but that was Fox Marvel characters. So the MCU can take a W here, but not a capital letter W, So it's not quite the same thing in that way. But so I understand what you're saying, Derek, but I don't think it's quite 100% there, that just yet. Fred says, are we getting Cavill in the Mutant MV? I don't know. I really don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. And I wouldn't be surprised to have him pop up. Why not? He's a free agent. And if you're going to go into the Secret Wars, that's going to open the door to a lot of universes and their characters popping on and fighting each other. Simon Section says, I guess everything boils down to RDJ's performance as Dr. Doom would be his Latvian accent. What would that sound like? Hopefully better than his Sherlock Holmes. I got to say, I never was bothered with his Sherlock Holmes. I've heard much worse British accents from American actors and vice versa. I've heard some pretty terrible American accents from British actors. I would not give RDJ an accent. Like, I wouldn't. I mean, I might adjust his story that he was born in Latvia, but raised in America and went to American college, rich American colleges or whatever. So, as people from other countries sometimes do. So I don't, yeah. I mean, we might get into a Kenneth Branagh in Tenet situation and Kenneth Branagh in that Jack Ryan movie with Chris Pine, where it's like, oh man, that Russian accent. Woof. So I think RDJ is a great actor, but accents wise, yeah, I mean, I've heard from quite a few people, that is British people and American people who watch a lot of British television, that his Sherlock Holmes, his British accent isn't the strongest. So yeah, I'd be nervous if he was to do a Latvian accent. That's a great question, Simon. I'd be a little nervous. Let's see. Sean G says, fair point, John. While people may be down on the casting, I just think people should judge the overall product, casting / film when done. No disrespect. Totally, Sean. And I agree with you, brother. We're on the same page. We're on the same page, brother. You're right. Like I said with Acolyte, you got to wait till all the episodes come out. Then you can fully judge the overall product. Feel free to judge every week. We reviewed every episode every week. But you got to reserve your overall judgment until the film comes out, until the show is finished. Same thing here. You got to reserve your overall judgment until you see the movie, see the story, see how it's working. But right now, you're allowed to have an initial reaction to the whole situation and see how you feel about it, for sure. I respect you. Thank you so much, Sean. Appreciate it, brother. Also, no disrespect, my friend. TKO says, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. RDJ is doing both. Doom will be the best villain in the MCU. All right, TKO. I respect your enthusiasm and your excitement, brother. I think that's an amazing way to go into this situation. Excited, hoping for the best, feeling like it's going to be great, and feeling like RDJ is going to nail being a villain as strongly as he nailed being a hero. Now he's going to have less movies to do it in, so he's really going to have to work overtime and maybe rely on the fans' love of him as Iron Man from those previous movies. But he's only going to have 2 or 3 movies, I imagine, to really hammer the Doctor Doom scenario home. So it's going to be fascinating to see how much of himself he puts into the character and creates within the character. So, yeah, I respect the TKO though, man. Be excited. As Shannon has said numerous times on the Geek Buddies, we do not yuck your yum. Be excited or don't be excited. Both reactions are accepted. Let's see what else. Oh, Tim, what's up, Tim? Good to see you, brother, man. He says, I can understand how they can write out Kang with the TVA stopping all the variants, but why bring RDJ back as Doom? Why not someone else? I don't like where the MCU is going, and it reeks of desperation. Yes, Tim, you're not the only one that feels this way. Certainly, I said it was a whiff of desperation because Russo's and RDJ are so great. You kind of have a feeling that it might work out, but appearance-wise, optics-wise, there's a difference bringing someone back when you're riding high and bringing someone back when you're not riding high, right? There's a difference. To use a sports term, I said this on the hot mic, my Washington football team, Joe Gibbs was our coach in the 80s and into the 90s. We won 3 Super Bowls. We went to 4 of them, losing to the Raiders that one time. And then he retired. And the franchise went to shit. The teams went to shit. They brought him back. He took us to the playoffs twice, but we never got to the Super Bowl again. So, we were desperate. He wanted to come back and try coaching again. He loved our franchise, and he came back. He did a good job. He didn't do a great job, but he did a good job. It was a different time. It was a different set of players, different environment, different NFL than when he left. This is a different MCU, different actors, different environment, different social media environment. Everything is different. You think 5 years isn't that much time? A lot has happened in 5 years. Fuck, a lot has happened in 5 weeks in this country, for God's sake. So, like, this idea of it reeking of desperation, I think, is a valid feeling to have, as much as TKO's feeling of being excited about it. I think both of those feelings are certainly very valid. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle the Kang situation. If we never see Kang again, I will be interested to see that. Shaunak Kulali, I hope I said that right, Shaunak. I would say more than the casting, I'm slightly concerned by the dates. Right. How does Marvel plan on pulling this off in 2 years? I don't see the current issues being resolved by then. Right. It's a great point, Shaunak. I love that you brought this up, man, because you're right. They had 3 phases. What was it, 20 movies or 18, 19 movies to get us to Infinity War and Endgame? They laid the groundwork so massively in all of those movies, all those phases, to lead us to have this awesome ending in Infinity War and Endgame. They have not had the same kind of build-up or ramp-up or quality in the ramp-up that they had in those previous. And look, I'm not in those previous phases. Look, I'm not living in some nostalgia where every MCU movie back then was great. It wasn't. Certainly a lot of people have issue with Thor. People have issues with Thor Dark World. I certainly think the first Avengers film is dated now when I watch it. It's not a pleasurable watch for the most part anymore. Some people like the first Captain America movie. I know me and Shannon did, but not everybody liked the first Captain America movie. Iron Man 2 wasn't that well received, even though it is one of the Lady Outlaw's favorite MCU movies. So, there are some stumbling blocks, some films that didn't quite nail it in the MCU back in those phases. But overall, there was a sense of excitement because there were so many big hits through those phases that kind of helped people be invested in where they were leading to with Thanos and everybody there at the end with Infinity War and Endgame. So I think your concern is extremely valid, brother, because you're right. Like, it is 2020, it is July of 2024. And what the Avengers movie comes out in May of 2027. So that is less than 3 years from now. Less than 3 years from now. And the Avengers Doomsday comes out in May of 2026, which is less than 2 years from now. So it's a valid point. It's a valid point. And look, let's take a look at let me take a look at the upcoming Marvel movies, right? We know we only have one Marvel movie this year. So already they're behind the 8 ball in that way, right? But what do we have here? You've got where do we go? Okay, so Deadpool and Wolverine, then Captain America Brave New World is next year, February of next year. Thunderbolts in May, Fantastic Four in July, Blade, no fucking way that comes out in November of next year. Then I think they're going to toss Blade in the trash can. I really do. I think they're going to either kick it into the next phase or just completely toss it in the trash can. And then you have Avengers, Kang Dynasty, Avengers, Secret War. So basically 3 films to lead us into Avengers, Doomsday, and then Avengers, Secret Wars. I mean, and you're introducing new characters. You're introducing a Fantastic Four. Are you going to introduce the X-Men in one of these movies in some way? You're bringing in a Red Hulk with Harrison Ford. Thunderbolts is bringing this whole team together. Yeah. So this is going to be interesting because, I mean, July 25th of 2025, July, August, September, November, December, January, February, March, April, and then May. So 10 months. 10 months between Fantastic Four and Avengers Doomsday. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a tight timeline. And the things that you're going to be introducing, are they going to be strong enough to carry you into 2 Avengers movies? Who the fuck are even the Avengers? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we had, I think 2011, 2012 is the first Avengers movie. And then 7 years later, we have Infinity War. Or is it, 6 or 7 years later, we have Infinity War Endgame. We don't even have an Avengers team right now, yet we're going to have Avengers Secret Wars and Avengers Doomsday. So this is a fascinating moment. And I know in the trailer, the Captain America 4 trailer, he says, like, he tells Sam to basically put together a team of new Avengers. Is that going to happen? I don't know. So fascinating to see that. So great question, brother. El Cid 0685 says, so no Avengers versus X-Men anytime soon. Yeah, it was kind of alluded to in a playful way in Deadpool and Wolverine. That's no spoiler. I mean, people are going to say stuff. But I don't know if we will be seeing that anytime soon because I don't know where the X-Men gets introduced. I mean, they're not going to pull a fucking what's his name? They're not going to pull a Darth Plagueis and have, like, Cyclops peering out from the cave and shit. Like, they're not going to do that shit. You got to really introduce the X-Men. I don't see where X-Men is any. So the next phase is what Kevin Feige says is going to be the mutant saga, even though we've already introduced mutants into the MCU. So I guess that's where you're going to get the X-Men. But how are the X-Men going to show up? Are they going to show up in Secret Wars? Is that how this whole thing happens? I don't know. Are they going to show up in Fantastic Four? I don't know. So good questions, though. You guys are great on this. Tim Sims says, funny that it's coming from me that is enjoying all the MCU content post Endgame minus Secret Invasion and disappointed that Kang is being written out instead of being recast. Yeah. It seems like that's the plan. Look, I mean, a lot of us were excited about the Coleman Domingo situation, and by the way, there's a great new film coming out with Coleman called Sing Sing, where he is in a prison and he's part of a theater troupe. It is a fantastic movie, and it is not what you expect. There's much more going on in the movie than this whole idea of them putting on a play to help them deal with their past as convicts. It's based on a true story. I got to see it a couple of weeks ago here in San Diego in a screening, and I just want to tell you, Coleman Domingo has never been better than he was in that movie. So highly, highly recommend. Put that on your list. Let's see here if we got any other comments from anybody. Oh, Beto. What's up, Beto? Beto Power says, wow, crazy news. Do you think this is a one and done thing as a Tony variant, or do you think he will now be the official Doctor Doom? Cheers. I'd be super fucking surprised if they make him the official Doctor Doom. I have to say that. I think he's being brought in as a reliever, and he's going to pitch the last couple of innings to help them win the World Series, possibly. That's what I think is going on here. Hold on, let me bring up this. I want to see. And again, I love Robert. This is nothing against Robert. Okay, so he was born in 1965, which makes him what, 58? Almost 60 years old, right? So it's an interesting situation because he's kind of too old to play the main Doctor Doom. Sorry, I don't want to take your question now. He's kind of too old to play the main Doctor Doom, to be honest with you. What are we going to believe him in a love triangle with Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby is going to have to choose between those guys? Like, does that seem believable to anybody, for God's sakes? Only in Hollywood would that fucking be believable. Vanessa Kirby, a woman that gorgeous and young, is going to be fighting between Pedro and RDJ. Give me a break. I just don't see it happening. Two way older men. So I don't think he's the main Doctor Doom. I think he could be a Tony Stark variant. But I know someone keeps quoting Variety saying he's Victor Von Doom, but he could be Victor Von Doom variant. How about that? He could be a Victor Von Doom variant from the Fantastic Four universe, and that's what he is, and not a Tony Stark variant. So I think that's much more likely, to be honest with you. Cheers to you, Beto. Haunted_Autumn, what's up, bud? Well, long time, dude. RDJ as Doom and Fantastic Four featuring in both Avengers films has me wondering if we are doing Time Runs Out / Secret Wars arc leading to a soft reboot. Thoughts? Look, I think everything is on the table, Haunted. I'll be honest with you. Kevin is, he's an incredibly smart guy. He's improvising on the fly. Kevin Feige, sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful. Kevin Feige is improvising on the fly, putting it together. And so, yeah, it's a very strong possibility that the Time Runs Out Secret Wars arc is happening here. And I think Kevin wants to do a soft reboot. I think Kevin Feige wants to do a soft reboot. I really do. I think that's kind of in his plans. And so it would make sense. So maybe there's some version of that story. Because remember, they didn't fully copy over 52. They didn't fully copy over Civil War. Or it's not 52, Civil War. They didn't fully copy over some of those storylines. The Infinity Gauntlet storyline was completely changed to fit what they were doing in the MCU. So it could be a storyline that they use, but they'll probably adjust it and change it as we go around. Let's see. Jonathan Hale. Sorry about that. Jonathan Hale says, hey, can't say I'm super excited about the Russos post Endgame. Their work hasn't worked for me, but with Feige, they do great stuff. I'll be hopeful. Yeah, Jonathan, we talked about it last week with on the hot mic with Jeff. And Jeff and I both, Jeff came up with this idea said that having Kevin Feige writing or supervising the Russos is probably the right combo to work, because clearly the Russos, without a strong producer above them and left to their own devices, create stuff like The Gray Man and Cherry and Citadel, things that really don't work. So I think you're right. The combo of them could work. And we'll see if they put it together correctly. Because again, the idea of coming back after all that time, will it work? It's questions galore. Wait, what is this? What is this? Teluga? Oh, Tony, I'm sorry. I got to ban you, Tony. I don't know what you're doing. Roberto Suarez says the only way out of the multiverse saga is right through it. We're beelining it to Secret Wars to end the multiverse for better or worse. Yeah, Roberto, you're right. Absolutely. Logically, the multiverse should have been a few more movies. Because what's Doctor Strange doing with what's Clea? Is that her name? The character that Charlize Theron is playing. And by the way, we're not even going to get another Doctor Strange movie before we go into Secret War. So whatever she was battling or fighting is probably going to be a subplot in one of the Avengers movies that they deal with and wrap up in Secret Wars. So we'll see how that works out. But I agree. I think Kevin knows the multiverse. Kevin Feige knows the multiverse saga has not been a strong saga. So he wants to just kind of get to the end, go forward with the Fantastic Four and MCU. Oh, sorry, Fantastic Four and X-Men and the new Avengers team and go from there. So yeah, I think that's exactly where he's at. Saul, of course, Saul, who loves to be the counter to everybody, he loves to be the devil's advocate, says he loves the first Thor. It's fine. It's fine. I actually can defend Thor Dark World a little bit, but that's just me. Tim Simback, he says, so is this the inflection point where we're more interested in Gunn's DC universe than the probably now convoluted MCU? I would say no. And I'll tell you why, Tim. Because it bothers me on a lower level, lower molecular level, that James Gunn, who has been shooting footage of Superman, refused to show any footage at Comic-Con. And Peter Safran came out and said, well, we don't want to go too far, or we don't want to showcase the film too early. We don't want to promote the film a year out. The fuck? Studios and producers promote films a year out all the goddamn time. Like, all the damn time. So to me, this reeks of a certain level of desperation. And this is all James Gunn's doing. Like, he's backed himself into this corner. He has backed himself into this corner by making a massive deal about Superman, kind of low-key, passive-aggressively talking about other versions of Superman that didn't quite work. And now he is going to come forward with this film. And if this film is mixed or isn't received well, you can start throwing dirt on top of the James Gunn DC verse. You can legitimately start throwing dirt on it if Superman doesn't work. And that's the big deal. It's supposed to come out before the next Comic-Con. Why in God's name would you not have a panel? And don't give me DC fandom. Fuck that. This is Comic-Con, man. They had a DC presence, like Creature Commandos. If you guys haven't seen that trailer, I did a reaction for it on my channel. Great. Fantastic. Looked fantastic. Can't wait to see it. I spoke to someone in the production team who got to see a couple of the episodes, and they said it's stellar. So I'm excited to see that series. But that being said, to me, I think is a massive sign that they didn't. I mean, Fantastic Four has been shooting for less time, and they brought footage, from what I understand, to Comic-Con. So to me, it makes no sense. And James Gunn announced the logo and all, which is fun and great. But I also think it's playing it safe, man. What does that guy say, Jerry Maguire? That's how you become great, man. You put your balls out there in the wind. The copy guy, right? And so that's, I think James Gunn is playing it safe. And look, he may be playing it correctly, right? He may be playing it completely correctly. I just think for me, if I believe in something, I want people to know about it as early as possible, so to build the excitement. And so it does kind of worry me a little bit that he did not come with Superman and they didn't have a panel at all. And I'm sure they'll have a panel if there's a DC fandom this year. I can't imagine they wouldn't. But for me, I still feel like it's a little nerve-wracking that they haven't. I would be a little nervous, rather. Sean K says, do you think they would have recast Kang if the phases had been received better instead of the hard pivot they're clearly doing right now? No, I think the Jonathan Majors stuff. Well, no, let me rephrase that. Yeah, maybe, Sean, because I think if the phases were going well and he was a super, and by the way, Jonathan has done a wonderful job acting wise, in my opinion, with his Kangs. All of his Kangs, from Ant-Man and Quantumania to Loki season 2 to the original Kang, are all interesting to me. And I think he does an incredible job performance-wise with them from Loki season 1 or what have you. But that stuff was too much to overcome. I think they'd have been hard-pressed if there was a massive positive response to all this stuff. they would have had to have made an adjustment for sure at that point. So yeah. So to me, I think I would think they would have recast Kang if the phases were received better, because that's a great villain and they don't want to lose that villain and all the groundwork they have laid with that villain. But right now they think the hard pivot is the way out. And I don't disagree with them, to be honest with you. And listen, we bitch all we want about this decision and these decisions, but this is Feige going, look, I can't worry about you guys and your opinions. I've got to save this brand. I've got to get us back on strong footing so that I can leave eventually. And so I think that's what he's doing here. He will shepherd the MCU into the new phases with X-Men and Fantastic Four. And then I think some point very shortly after that gets established, Kevin Feige will leave the MCU. He'll have done everything he could possibly do. And you can't ask anything more, for God's sake. So yeah. Let's see. What else have we got here? Any other ones have come through here? No. Let's see if we got any Streamlabs that have come through. Yeah, Fred says the Russos had Ragnarok, Homecoming, and Black Panther between their movies, and this time not. They have a harder hill to climb. Yes, exactly, Fred. That's what I've been saying. This is a tougher situation for them to come back to the situation and make it work. And it won't be easy. It'll be incredibly tough. And the odds are stacked against them. Big time. Big time. Derek says, Gunn and the DCU put all the eggs in one basket. Yeah, people have been excited. Why not show a small teaser? Exactly. Over 2 decades of mediocre or bad movies, you got to give the fans with one hand holding on something to look forward to. Exactly, especially when you're not going to be able to preview it and talk about it or get people excited about it at the next Comic-Con, because that happens. The film is released 2 weeks before next year's Comic-Con. So, yeah. Look, they're going to be fine hyping it up. They're going to be fine with the campaign and everything like that. But I think it's a massive missed opportunity not having a panel, not bringing out Corn Sweat, not bringing out Rachel Brosnahan, not bringing out the rest of the cast to take a bit of a bow. Look, Thunderbolts came out, the Fantastic Four cast came out, the Captain America 4 cast came out, Robert Downey Jr. came out. Marvel understands what they're doing in Hall H. I'm very surprised DC didn't do this. How do you not bring out John Cena? How do you not bring out Jennifer Holland? How do you not bring out all these people? How do you not bring out Viola Davis? It just doesn't make sense to me why you don't have a DC panel to get people excited about DC. Especially when you're not going to be able to do it at the next panel. I mean, the next Comic-Con, you'll be able to have a DC panel at the next Comic-Con, but it won't be because, you're promoting something that's about to come out. It'll be because you want to talk about how great it was in case Superman is great. So it's not quite the same, and you'll be able to promote stuff that's going forward. So yeah, Shelton says Gunn is afraid of backlash and playing it safe. Yeah, I agree. I think he's completely afraid about how it's going to be received. Well, not afraid. Look, James Gunn's a fearless filmmaker. It doesn't mean he doesn't have fear, but I think he's a bold, gutsy filmmaker. That being said, I also think he's built this up so high, responding to people on social media, from what I understand, going over that DC logo numerous times before finally landing on the DC. That's what I hear from behind the scenes, that he went back and forth on a number of things on that DC logo before he finally announced it yesterday. So, there's a lot of thinking going on. And I heard some things in the wind from people at the con that, we will see. That's what I'll say. We will see. That, there is a little bit of something. And we will see behind the scenes, and we'll see if it's all just kerfuffle and it leads to great end products, but we will see, And I also don't think people should jump on James Gunn with 2 feet. This is an incredibly difficult pivot to make with your career, from director, writer, filmmaker to running a fucking huge wing of the studio and trying to get your vision across to all these directors and all these people and have the fans get excited for it. So It's not an easy situation. It's not an easy situation. So, if there's some unrest behind the scenes about some of the overthinking, I would not be surprised, because you've asked someone to take on something they've never done. And so there's going to be, what do you call it? There's going to be growing pains. There's going to be bruised egos. There's going to be stepped on toes. So, we'll see. We'll see what the end result's going to be. So Vincent goes, what the hell, being something up but not saying it? I'll tell you why, Vincent. Because I don't have to fucking say it. Because I don't need to fucking say it right now. And because I think it would be disrespectful to say it right now. Because betraying the confidences of people that I know. So for me, it's just alluding to things so that people who get what I'm talking about will put it in the back of their minds in case stuff starts to come out and you understand what I was alluding to. So we'll see. Let's see what else. Okay, so there you go. Just the tip, Bamboo. Just the tip, Bamboo. All right, let's see if there's anything else. Okay, that's all the Streamlabs and Super Chats. All right, guys, we should wrap it up. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Is there anything else you want to address? If not, I think I'll wrap it up, because it's like 9:30 here tonight. I was planning on going to Comic-Con tomorrow at some point. We'll see how I feel in the morning. Yeah, I mean, we will, I'm excited. So if you guys haven't watched my reactions, I put up my Creature Commandos and my Rings of Power season 2 reaction. That trailer looks fucking great. I don't know if you guys have seen that Rings of Power season 2 trailer. I am immediately going to rewatch season 1 before season 2 drops, for sure, to reacquaint myself. I know it wasn't the strongest season of a Lord of the Rings series, but I kind of want to, make sure I remember everything going into season 2, because I got a feeling like from that trailer, it looks like they fixed all the issues from season 1 and they're coming to like gangbusters. As I said, the Creature Commandos one looks good. I'm going to wait to record my Penguin one till the morning. So I will have my Penguin one up tomorrow morning, and my Star Trek Strange New Worlds one will be up tomorrow afternoon as well. I watched the 3-minute 51-second, the 5-minute and 11-second video they released. That was a big scene from one of the episodes of season 3. It was pretty awesome. So look for that stuff from me. Eddie L. Eddie says, do you think Benedict and Doc Strange will be a main hero in Avengers 5 and 6? You think? Yes, I think so. He's one of the last remaining old school guys, and who directed Benedict Cumberbatch in both Infinity War and Endgame? The Russos. So it makes all the sense in the world that they're going to rely on Benedict Cumberbatch's talent and Benedict Cumberbatch's strength as an actor, and also his presence as Doctor Strange to be an essential part of both 5 and 6 for sure. I mean, Doctor Doom versus Doctor Strange, that's a main event in any pay-per-view or any premium live event. So I love that idea. He absolutely will be a huge part of it for sure. All right, that's it. Let's wrap it up there. So for me overall, I think all the stuff they presented at the Marvel panel was fun. From the choir for Deadpool and Wolverine, because the celebration of life was really awesome. I had no idea they were going to show the whole movie. I would have gone again just to sit in that theater and see the movie again. But I heard that was great. But then, the opening with the choir is basically their little allusion to Deadpool and Wolverine, how happy they are about how it's doing. The Thunderbolt stuff was fun. I guess that movie's really coming out. So we'll see. Because if Thunderbolts doesn't do well, and Captain America 4, which has had 3 or 4 reshoots, is a bit of a mess. I didn't even say this. What happens if Captain America 4 comes out and is a bit of a jumbled mess? Then Thunderbolts comes out and it's a bit of a jumbled mess. And then Fantastic Four comes out and it's probably good, but can't solve the problems of those previous 2 movies. And then boom, we're into a Secret War. So yeah, there's a lot riding on these next 3 movies to lead us into these 2 Secret Wars. So, and we don't even know what's happening in Blade. So we will see as this goes along. But all that was cool. The Captain America stuff footage, from what I read, look pretty cool, and I'm excited to see that. And then the other stuff there that was announced with Fantastic Four, I like that. And the RDJ, I like it and I don't like it at the same time. So the jury's out for me, but I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm much more trepidatious than I am optimistic. So we will see in the end. But I love the names of the new Avengers films. Doomsday and Secret Wars. I'm glad those were official. I love the colors of the logos. So for me, the design and the look of it all looks awesome. So we will see there. All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. This was an impromptu live situation here. We had almost 400 people joining us for a majority of it. For those of you who came in late, Jeff Snyder joined me for the first 8 to 10 minutes of the show to give his thoughts on Dr. Doom and the Robert Downey Jr. announcement and the announcement of the 2 titles for Avengers. So if you want to go back and watch the beginning, you can watch the beginning. For those of you who have watched the whole thing, thanks so much. I appreciate it madly. I love you all madly. The fact that 400 people are joining me right after Hall H panel live on a Saturday night means so much to me. So thank you very much for taking the time to hang out with this old outlaw and who's talking about Marvel and talking about the things he loves, which is superheroes. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for the Streamlabs super chats. If any of you have made it to this point and you want to send some love for the show and you've enjoyed the show, please hit that thanks button and send in. You can send in some monetary love that way as well. Or if you want to subscribe down below, I would love it if you haven't subscribed yet for y'all to subscribe to the channel down below. And if there's a Patreon, so head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha. I'm probably having a hangout with my $5 and above patrons tomorrow afternoon after I come back from the con. So come and hang out with me there. You can subscribe there at patreon.com/John Rocha. All right. Love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And we will see you later on. Look forward to the Geek Buddy stuff popping up definitely in the next few days. Look for all the Hot Mic coming out on Wednesday. We will definitely have conversations about all the Comic-Con announcements, but certainly, and then a live Deadpool and Wolverine Geek Buddies review coming as well. So thanks so much. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Nation here on the Outlaw Nation channel. Peace. Much love and enjoy your Sunday.